Welcome aboard, everybody. Rick DiClemente with Star Self Astrology, and welcome to Astrology Unplugged. We meet every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for free, and you can learn more about it by going to my channel on YouTube or going to my Facebook page, which reminds you of the linkage. On my website, starself.com, I highly encourage you to sign up for free for my mailing list, and then you'll be notified of these things. What's happened to me is I let the spirit move me, and what I've been moved to doing tonight, which is why we're unplugged, to talk about how did we get here as human beings. As you know, a lot of people are walking around worried, and I think we need to talk astrologically why you look to the left, and you see Hillary Clinton, and you look to the right, and you see Mr. Trump, and not a lot of people are pleased with either choice. If you are, more power to you. I'm not here to argue for one person or the other, but I'm here to talk about the state of the country. How did we get here? What's going on? And I think you'll find it very easy to understand. Some nights I'll do more astrological instruction as far as the nitty-gritty of how you read the chart. Other nights will be more theoretical. So, one of the things I wanted to start with tonight is, if you follow me for a while, I have about 120 articles out on my website, and a lot of these issues have been brought up, talked about before. And you can go to starself.com and read lots of different articles on different subjects, because a lot of the forces that we're under at the moment have been around for about 8 or 10 years, and it's no surprise. I want to take you back to 1965. In 1965, there's a video I have on this covering this exact topic on my channel on YouTube. It's about the 1965 Uranus conjunction with Pluto. I'm going to try to keep it simple, but in 1965, on October the 8th, Uranus met up with Pluto. And that means in the sky, if we would have drawn a line through Uranus, it would have gone out and intersected Pluto. So Pluto, Uranus, and the Earth were all in line. And what's important astrologically is that these two planets were together, because Pluto takes 250 years to go around, and Uranus takes 84 years to go around. So it's not that common an occurrence when they line up. These two planets are extremely powerful, revolutionary, earth-shaking planets. And when they lined up, they were so strong. That's why the energy was felt as early as 1960, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, they met up. 66, all the way to 71. They were the 60s. Hello, Pat Sharp.
Hi.
Hello, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So, we don't even have to talk about the Vietnam and about the Beatles and all the revolutions going on. But what happened in the 60s was on October 8th, at the 18th degree of Virgo, these two planets met up. And the fact that they were in Virgo, which is a rather tame, well-behaved sign, kept this revolution rather mild compared to what it could have been, Kent State or whatever. Because Virgo is not one for revolution. Virgo is about keep your mouth shut, go to work, and do a good job. When I talk about Virgo or any air sign, I'm talking about the basic essence of the sign. So don't pick on me if you got a Virgo that's kind of radical and I call it kind of tame. I'm talking about the sign itself. And you want to know more about that, then you read this. Because this book, Liza and I wrote, we really chiseled down and tried to get to the pure essence. As a matter of fact, we ripped up the Virgo chapter and rewrote it at the very end. And I was very happy because we came to see how Virgo really was misunderstood greatly, talking always about perfection, and we replaced that with the word purity and caring, which is very much misunderstood about Virgo. So at 65, you had this revolution forming, and you had a Virgo in the White House named LBJ. And the revolution of Uranus is it wants things new, wants to break the old, and Pluto wants to get rid of the dying, replace it, and rebirth it with something new. So when the two came together, you had the tremendous revolution of the equal rights, the civil rights, the female rights, the voting rights, the Medicare, the Medicaid. I mean, tremendous things. These happened because Virgo is the sign that rules everyday man, blue-collar workers. You know, this is why you saw Bernie Sanders screaming for these things, because he's a Virgo sun sign, and that's why you kept seeing Bernie talk about equal pay and 1% share it with the 98% is a Virgo quality. So by the time 1965 came, it's not that important what happened October 1st through October 15th. It was a whole general period. And when you're educated and you hear about astrology, there's too much of a tendency that's given to you by reading newspapers and reading magazines. You're always thinking, what's going to happen Tuesday? What's going to happen next Friday? Get your mind much bigger than that. Those people that write for magazines and newspapers are writing about the faster moving minor planets because they're trying to tell you the difference between Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm talking about eras, big time eras. And if you really want, I'm going to write this down in the chat area too. If you really want to understand about the eras over the last several hundred years, the book to read is by Richard Tarnas. I'm writing it down now. It's the Bible, Richard Tarnas, and the book is called Cosmos and Psyche. An absolute brilliant masterpiece. Over 30 years to write this book. The man is a walking genius. He took anywhere, I don't know, back to the time of Christ or earlier to today. And he took the major planets and showed you when this planet lined up here and this planet lined up here, you got electricity. And when this planet lined up here, you got this war. And he walked you through each period, all through those centuries. And he showed you how these planets were symbolic of the changes that you went through, not knowing that they were planetary. I'm not going to get in tonight into how these planets make things happen, because they don't really make things happen. I'm not going to get into that because that's very difficult to explain. It's very quantum. It's a whole different way of thinking. But suffice it to say, by 1965, people were ready for a revolution. And if you remember back then, and I remember it very well, almost everybody in this country was for Vietnam. You didn't dare speak out about the war. Everybody was for the war because we had just gone through the 1963 assassination of our president, which was a huge blow to our collective psyche. So there was still some faith and belief and hope. A lot of things started dying after that assassination. But in 65, you started to see the turning against the government, that you started to see the anti-war demonstrations. It wasn't but 3 years later you saw Kent State, you saw the assassination of Robert Kennedy, and you saw Martin Luther King. So all these things were relevant to Uranus, Pluto. But what you boil it down to, what was really happening when two planets meet on October 8th of 1965, that was a marriage. Astrologically, it was the seed. It was a beginning. And that seed brought with it the meaning of the 18th degree of Virgo. And each degree of the zodiac has a meaning. And if you study that degree, I'm not going to get into all that either. But what the essence of that degree is, it's not fascination with the Beach Boys. It's not fascination with the Beatles. It's not fascination with the Black Rights. It's not the kids with their right fist in the air at the Olympics. Those things were secondary. What it was about was we were to then start to learn by listening inward. That's what the promise was about. The beginning of the Uranus-Pluto cycle that was to take, I don't know, a couple hundred years till it comes back. But the meaning of that degree, we were supposed to, look, you just had 1962. You just had Vatican II. You saw the church start to become more flexible. You start high schools started to be more flexible. Everything started changing. The key to it was we were to start learning and listening and taking our guidance from within. Now, what did you see in the 60s? You heard all this stuff about, I'm not listening to the man, I'm not listening to blah, 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 all this anti-establishment stuff, all this noise, this frenetic noise, which is a byproduct. But the reason I'm stressing that it was about the inner guidance, and you can see what happened, 65, 70, 75, 80. You started seeing healers coming out of the woodwork. You saw more spiritual books. You started to see the spiritual movement. You started to see less attendance at churches. And I'm talking about churches where you were not encouraged to think. I'm not picking on the churches that encouraged you to find God inside. So eventually, as with any cycle in astrology, this is explained clearly on that video on YouTube. About the year, I'm approximate now, 2016. Around 2011 happened. And by that time, Uranus and Pluto had grown to be at a right angle to each other. 50 years later, they were together, they both moved, and as they moved, one moves faster than the other, they eventually became at a right angle. And in astrology, that's called the opening square. The conjunction, the opening square, the opposition, the closing square, just like a new moon, quarter moon, full moon, etc. The opening square is the crisis. It's the beginning of the trial and the test. Just like you're hired with the sun here, 90 days later, the sun has gone 1/4 of the way around the circle, and we call that on-the-job probation. How are you doing 90 days later? We're going to hire you or fire you. All these cycles have subcycles. So by the year 2011, we came into our test. Our report card, the final was out, to how were we doing with the promise we made. The promise we made with equal rights, with voting rights, with Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare, all this stuff didn't come out of nowhere. It was a revisitation of what started in October of '65. We could have been doing great at it. We could have been doing terrible. We found out we're doing a lot worse than we thought. Because during those years between '65 and 2011, when there's not pressure on you, you know how it goes. You slide things under the rug. We got equal rights problem. We'll let them deal with it. We got problems with voting rights. We'll put that off. We'll table that for a while. But by 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 and 16, what have you seen? In your face. We have had to revisit these issues. Crises. They're not coming out of nowhere, and when you don't know astrology, you don't understand it. But the real crisis has been that we have learned that we're getting a D minus, I think, in terms of learning to listen inwardly. That's what's happened. That's at the core of the problem. You're not going to do like Dick Cheney said, well, go to the Middle East and just tell these Muslims that the Quran is just not right. Tell them to get rid of it. That's what he said. Just convince them how stupid Muhammad was. They should be listening to our Bible. So I don't care if it's the Bible, if it's the Bhagavad Gita, I don't care what it is. They all got their seeds in truth. You all know that. They all have, most of them have leaders that went awry at some point. But what I'm talking about is simply listening inside to that overused phrase, the still voice within. You know what you got to do. People, we started this group here a month ago called What Can We Do? And I already folded the group because people aren't showing up. People know what they got to do. They come to me and say, well, what can we do? What can we do? You know what you could do. You can go down the street like Karen was saying yesterday, and you can be kind to people or you can be mean. You can volunteer or you can not volunteer. You can crawl up in a hole or you can get off your butt and do something. So the key is Virgo, and they got themselves to blame because Virgo doesn't want, because they're after Leo, Virgo doesn't want any acclaim. They don't want to be noticed. They want to be in the background. It's understandable. It's a reaction from coming out of the Leo stage. That's what's covered in the book. So what's coming up now is, in the midst of all this, Pluto goes into Capricorn in January of 08, and it's there to be there till 2023, and I got a lot of articles and videos on that on the channel. So now you've got the Pluto-Uranus continuing while you got the Pluto going through Capricorn. Why is that significant? Because Capricorn are your institutions. And Pluto, what does it do? It's the great equalizer. What does it do? Besides being squared by Uranus, it's testing, is your Supreme Court valid? Are these people in legislation corrupt or not? Are your lawyers corrupt or not? Is your daddy corrupt or not? Are these businesses corrupt or not? Is your Penn State corrupt or not? Is your Catholic Church corrupt or not? And what we do, covering rock after rock after rock after rock, we just keep uncovering so much darkness. It is not that we uncovered darkness, it's the fact that we uncovered it. It's been there. You know that. And just like I've said to so many people, you go down your basement and it ain't looking too good, and you hurry up and shut the door. You go down your basement 3 months later and you hear things falling apart, you shut the door. Well, one time you go down the basement and it's getting so bad, you've got to deal with it. I talked to you about Pluto stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Pluto stage 1 is denial. It's so bad, but I'm just going to keep denying it. That's what we're trying to drag everybody in America collectively out of Pluto stage 1 into stage 2, which is, oh crap, we've got to clean this up. That's what we're in. And we're very far from stage 3. So we start finding out that we're failing at a lot of these things. We're failing mainly by not listening inwardly. And we have a wonderful Grace with us tonight, who's a yoga teacher, and she talked earlier about following the breath, but I don't need to tell Grace anything. I mean, a yoga teacher, that's what it's all about, is the union of listening from within. But you can't listen from within if you've got church rules here, and if you've got the societal rules here, and you've got all these other rules. And you know what? I've followed the Quran, and I've followed its history back to Muhammad. And a lot of what the Quran is about, and what they thought at the time, and what it needed at the time, was obedience. They felt at their time, their problem was people weren't obedient. Look at them now. They're very obedient. Very obedient. But what's happening now is we're getting free. At the same time that the seesaw is getting worse, and the spiritual movement's getting better, and the political, economic situation getting worse, and the spiritual quality should not get any better, and getting better and better. They're both going at the same time. Look at here, I'm pushing a button, and here you are on my screen. All over the world, all over the country. How wonderful this is, and we're sharing like thoughts, and it happens to be in this group an astrological bent. So, as we've been discovering, and people have been screaming out, listen inward, well, a lot of people are offended. They think, well, this church is to blame, or the left is to blame, or the right is to blame, or the Republicans are to blame. And what we're doing, that's all stage one of Pluto. That's denial. We're not going to deal with anything. We're not going to take any ownership. Let them do it. It's their fault. Stage two is we take ownership. We don't like it, but we take ownership, and we get a shovel. We get down the basement, and we start digging ourselves out. So, what you're seeing largely, the Uranus-Pluto is starting to die now. It's starting to fade away now. The square went on 7 times over the last 5 years. It's starting to fade. I don't think we made much progress with it, do you? What progress did we make with civil rights? What progress did we make with Medicare, Medicaid, all those things that were born in 65? But sometimes astrologically, you have to wait till the fight is over till you can gain your senses, see clearly, and a lot of times progress is made after the planet hits you. If Pluto hits your sun, or Saturn hits your moon, or Uranus comes and hits your Venus. A lot of times when it's exact, you're in so much chaos that you can't deal with it very well. You have to wait till it separates, and then you got the idea and you can do some constructive work. So what's happening now is we're busy deconstructing. You have confusion. You have bodies, government, institutions falling down because they are corrupt and they need to die. You also have deconstruction, which is a healthy thing. Deconstructing, which means I don't want to follow you leading me anymore because you don't know what you're saying or your intentions are not pure. So we have this wonderful thing happening at the same time this awful stuff's happening. And unfortunately in the middle, you got this real ugly thing right in the middle called mainstream media, which wants you all excited and wants you so mad. And look what this guy did. This guy blew his nose last night. This guy sat down on his left side of his butt last night. And these crises out of everything everybody's doing. And then you go to the store and you hear everybody's chirping the same words they heard on TV last night. Where's your mind? What you think? And I'm going to have to tell you how hard it is to get out amongst your friends and speak your mind. But that's what's happening. We are getting stronger, and that's leading to my next subject. So as we're deconstructing, as opposed to falling apart, one of the things that's happening the age of Mea Culpa is dying. We're not going to do it anymore. Us spiritual people are not going to go on the cross. We're not going to self-flagellate. We're not going to say 7,000 Hail Marys and go to you, so you forgive me, Mr. So-and-so. I mean, the Pope yesterday said we had the duty to clean up the environment. Who is he to tell me what my duty is? Maybe he has a duty to stop the pedophiles in his own realm, huh? And clean up the finances in his own robbery Vatican. I'm glad he said it, but what I'm saying to you, and I love this Pope, what I'm saying is we got to take the power away from these people. He's no different than me or you. Me or you, the king or the queen, President Obama, none of them. And what gets me is how asleep we've been. How asleep we've been. Jefferson didn't want this country bowing down to what Bush said or Obama said. Every day we read about what's Obama going to do, what's Bush going to do. We're supposed to be doing this together. And Americans have become so asleep. That's one of the issues tonight. Why are we so asleep? I just went to Facebook and changed my cover page to a flock of sheep. One of the points is we've got this myth, and I deal a lot with this with people. We got this myth, and it comes from past lives, that spiritual people don't speak up. Spiritual people don't say no. You can rape me a second time, third time. I won't say anything. We got this ridiculous mindset that while we're getting there, we're not saying anything. You saw what happened in the last month when people raised hell about the EpiPen, right? Boom, 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 boom. EpiPen. Prices at least in half. Other places are coming up, getting it cheaper. I got it for $40. We're speaking up. But what is it that's got us so quiet? What is it that's got us so subservient? Part of it, and a lot of it, is we've still got this God concept of daddy up there in a chair, and daddy's going to kick your butt if you're too loud. You don't obey, he's going to kick your butt. And we're smart in that. We know there's no guy up there in the chair. We know what cosmic consciousness is. We've all touched it. Astrology is its science. It's calibration tool. So you start to analyze. And what do you find? Go into the chat area, and I wrote down the link to my vulnerability article. Vulnerability article, that's the exact link to it. If you go to, hi John, if you go to that link, you will find an article that was really well received a couple years ago about the USA being a cancer country, and this is a big part of the problem. Every sign has a very intense need to do X, Y, Z. They do. That's what's in the book. And they're not real good at other things because no sign is good at all 12 things. And one of the main things that Cancer is about is dealing with emotions. It's the first emotional sign of the zodiac. We're born on the 7th. We're born on the 7th month, 4th day. We are a Cancer country. We have Cancer qualities en masse as far as a collective. Now, the good side of Cancer, every sign has the light and the dark. The light side is we care about baby Jessica. Is that the one that went down the well? Was that Jessica that went down the well? We had to go down the well and get her out, and the whole country grabbed its mouth while we were getting out every inch of her getting saved, and we saved her out of that pipe. That's the great side of Cancer. We care about individual life. We care about family. We've got a Statue of Liberty holding a torch up to the world. Yeah, we'll see how far that's gotten. Well, bring us, you're tired, you're poor, and you're hungry, but if they're terrorists, don't bring them. So we're already into so much hypocrisy. So the great side of Cancer is taking care of the family. But Cancer is also a very dangerous sign. Also, like all signs. And why? Because it's so provincial. We were so spoiled for so long with Canada, Mexico, Pacific, Atlantic. Nobody can mess with us. Get on a train and ride through Europe. Get on a train and ride through Europe. And have some Bulgarians get on it, some French get on, the Germans get on, Italians get on. Then you see how the world is. These people have been attacked. These people have lost out. In America, we're like, ooh, do, 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 do. Oh, you know, a Pokemon. I see one over there. We're just oblivious. We think nothing can happen to us. So they come in and knock down these two towers, whether they did or not. And we still think nothing can happen here. So we got a candidate that wants to build a wall. How many times have you built a wall in your heart or in your mind and it's worked? Ever? You ever seen anybody? Who has ever built a wall and it's worked? Spiritual people know better. They know that love and acceptance is how you bring down the walls. Not by putting up the walls. So we got this panic knee-jerk. We're going to build this wall and we're going to be safe. This is a Cancerian country wanting to be the crab and go underneath the rock where it thinks it's safe, but it's not safe. What did Helen Keller say? She's the icon. She's the picture on the top of this article. It's a picture of Helen Keller, blind and deaf. And she said there's no such thing as safety. And she's blind and deaf, and she's a Cancer with a moon in Pisces. There's no such thing as safety. There is no such thing as safety. You can put your head in the sand, America. How well is that working? But she knew, being as bold, and boy, she had a tough chart. You got to look at her chart. She had the tough Pluto and the tough Uranus, and that she had to have that strength to help her get the courage to get out of her quandary. You know, very brave woman. So a Cancer country wants to just keep ignoring it, keep putting the stuff under the covers, keep putting your head in the sand. We're learning more and more and more every day. The government's not going to help us. We're learning your pension went out the door. We're learning your rights are going out the door. And we're just hoping somebody's going to come in and save us. So that article is about vulnerability. It's about how you turn the Cancer negative, the Cancer shadow, and you turn it around into the positive. And you turn around into the positive one way. And the way you do it is by the opposite of the Cancerian archetype. You do it through being vulnerable. That's how you save the country, by being vulnerable. You don't do it by having 900 bases in 150 countries. 900 bases in 150 countries, and we're all walking around thinking that's normal and acceptable. Hey, where's your nephew? Oh, he's on a base in Okinawa. Where's your nephew? Oh, he's up in South Korea. We just think we have this right. So what happens? United States. Sun at 12 degrees Cancer. What happened in the past couple of years? Here comes Pluto. Here comes Pluto. The last couple of years. John. Pluto 12 degrees Capricorn. Pluto exactly opposite the sun of the United States. The sun is your identity. Whether you like it or not, when your sun gets hit, whether you're a dog, whether you're a business, whether you're a person, your identity is challenged. It's time for identity change. Well, you got all this deconstruction, all this destruction going on at the same time, the report cards coming in, and going on at the same time, you know, you can deal with so much at once. And what's the Cancerian reaction? Hide under the rock. All signs, when you are challenged, all signs, except for rare charts, all signs run to their strength. Aries, start fighting like the ram. They'll fight with you. Taurus digs in. Karen. They dig in. And if you think you're going to dig in deeper than U.S. Grant did at Springfield or at Vicksburg, he just dug in and starved the enemy out. That's their strength. What's Gemini do? What do they do? They're going to fly away. What are they going to do, Mr. Trump? They're going to fly away, change the subject. You have to have a strength or you don't survive. All signs have a strength. And the opposite, the strength is their weakness. What's Cancer do? Cancer goes under the rock, protects the family, tightens up. Well, that's awful nice until you get under the rock and you can't move, you can't get back out, and somebody steps on the rock. What's a Leo do? Hey, me, got to be you, not me. I'm strong, can't be me. Very nice power. What's Virgo do? Oh, Nancy, turn out more widgets. I don't care. You did 150 widgets last night. Put out 200 widgets tomorrow. 300 widgets next door. Virgos, work harder. When you're in trouble, work harder. I don't care if you did 300. Just do 6,000 next week. Quit whining about it. Work harder. See, none of these answers work. All of these answers work partially. None of them work because they're only 1/12. What's a Libra do? Oh, I just get smooth with you, and we'll talk about it, and we'll just Jimmy Carter, and we'll just sit down and talk and be smooth and educated, and everybody will play nice. Well, some people don't. What's Scorpio do? Ooh, that's a tough one. Scorpios dig in and they get passionate, and they either play games with you or they just have it out with you, and out comes the stinger. You see my point? Sagittarius, what's it do when it's in trouble? Oh, what the heck? Hey, what the heck? Hey, buy that car. Don't worry. Put it on a rental. Put it on a credit card. Hey, there's no problem. Just flip it up. Right? Capricorn, what's it going to do? Well, did I break some rule? I need to follow some rule better. What I got to do? I got to be a little tighter. Got to spend a little bit less money. Be a better citizen. What's Aquarius do? Very good question. What's Aquarius do? They escape. They're very individualistic. They go off by themselves. And they're very strong. But eventually, they've got to come back, and they've got to socialize with everybody else. Finally, what the Pisces do. The Pisces, the ultimate sign, toughest sign. What does the Pisces do on the plus sign is they surrender to God. Or what do they do on the negative side? They escape, take the drugs, put the needle in the arm, drink the booze, to escape everything, etc. So you see, it's not just Cancer. Cancers are a particularly dangerous sign, and here's why. Cancer has its wonderful side. The negative side is, I got mine, you go get yours. The Republican Party, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Scorpio. Does that sound familiar? I got mine, go get yours. I had a guy I wrote to several months ago. I was writing some article on Facebook. I said, this poor soul is a have-not. He can't help it, he's a have-not. This person wrote back to me and said, well, tell him to become a have. Okay, well, I'm going to call the guy up and say, well, you become a have, okay? Go down, work for $7.25 an hour, become a have, we'll have no more problem. But the Cancer mentality is, here's where it's dangerous. It's whack a country. Whack a country is our problem. When a country stands up, we're not imperialistic. like Genghis Khan. We whack any country that stands up because it might become somebody. That's the problem. It might grow up and kick our butt. I got 10 loaves of bread. I'm not sharing next door because you might grow up and kick my butt. That's the cancer problem. Cancer has to go through this stage. It's a necessary, critical, tough part of the zodiac. And eventually it turns into Leo, which becomes very generous. But the nature of Cancer is to coil up, protect what's theirs. That's why you can't build a wall, Mr. Trump. I don't care how high it is. It won't work because the walls start coming up inside the country. So, as Pluto, John, as Pluto came around in the last several years, opposite the sun of the United States, in astrology, that's called the 7th house. First house, 7th house. Can you all see my fingers? Getting all worked up. The 7th house in astrology, beside marriage and relationships, it's the house in the zodiac of open enemies. The 12th house is the house of closed enemies, which means enemies you got, but you don't know who they are. The 7th house is enemies you got, and you know who they are. Iran, Iraq, etc. What's going to happen is, as Pluto's examining our sun, and there's two critical things happening now. Pluto is opposed to the sun, and our natal Pluto is here, and Pluto's gone all the way around. It's about to return. So the Pluto return is coming on 2/2/22. February 2nd of 22 is that Pluto is going to be back where it was in 1776. And when you add all that up, Pluto is testing us like all the planets do, because the planets are very pure. They're God's instruments. Pluto wants to know, or not wants to know, is going to find out. Have you been using your power or abusing it? So you're already getting the early returns. You're already getting countries around the world that don't want to play with us anymore. Why do you get 900 bases in 150 countries? And the second one on the list has 12 bases. The second country on the list has 12 military bases around the world. We have 900. Well, I think that's very Cancerian. That's the wacko country. You stand up, what have we got something to say about that? You put a boat out in the Straits of Hormuz, well, we got something to say about that. Well, we're going to put a boat outside of Brazil. Well, we got something to say about that. We've fallen asleep. We think this is normal. And I sure don't want anybody invading us, like anybody. But there's the problem. We've got the Pluto return questioning how we're using our power or abusing it, because Pluto will put an end to it. It will. We got Pluto opposite the sun, and that's so catastrophic. We're going through so much identity. What do they got now? The kids now have 50 new prefixes, new pronouns. The kids now at colleges, they don't want to be he and she anymore. They got 50 new pronouns. You start with Z and start with X. Did you see all that? They want to be known, as this is all about this gender crisis. These kids want to be, I'm a male, but I sort of feel like a female. They've got these special words for him and her put together, and they just had fits, and it was all over the news at WVU this past week. These kids want to be called and referred to as they identify. So you can see the identity of the country is changing. You can no longer identify with power. You can't identify with your drones. You can't identify with how you won World War II. You can't identify with what gender you want. Everybody's saying this crazy political correctness, but it's not just political correctness. A lot of it is We don't want things the way they were. We want to deal with each other with more sensitivity. A lot of what's happening is we're confusing normal evolution with political correctness. So along comes Trump. He says, oh, you don't have to be politically correct. And the whole crowd goes, yay, and throws it all out. Well, that's not an answer either. So during the Pluto sun that we're under, we are here to redefine ourselves just after we got our failing report card. So we got a tough road ahead. Now, not to depress everybody, on the good side, and there is a good side, there's a great side. While this stuff is being deconstructed and we're rethinking everything, we're rethinking how laws are going to be, if we can get our Congress to come to a meeting maybe. Please. What? We are totally owned by the corporation. Do you see a way to stop it? Do you see something stopping the lobbyists in D.C.? You and I know, we're smart enough to know the only thing that's going to stop this is love. Treating people right. It's going to start with you and me. Treating you right in your own mind, your family right, your villagers right, your neighbors right, and we got to speak up to the ones who aren't doing it. I don't hear any other answers. But these getting more guns and not budging on NRA laws, it's the whole thing about accentuating the power of the individual. We're totally invested in being separate. Totally. Instead of coming together, which is why the article is about becoming more vulnerable. Vulnerable doesn't mean, hey, I'll lay down, you beat on me. But vulnerable tells the other person, I trust you. When I tell you I trust you, I touch a place in you that doesn't want to hurt me. When you come into a room all uptight, you come in the room and you go to see your relatives, and like Wayne Dyer talked about, you're going to see your relatives on Thanksgiving, and the last 15 times you went on Thanksgiving, it sucked. You met Uncle Harry and it sucked, and you walk in the room again and it sucks again. He tells you, go in the 16th time and go in ahead of time and say, I'm going to trust him. I'm going to be open to him. And you walk in and Uncle Harry says, well, what the heck is wrong with you? The Course in Miracles says it clearly. All we ever do is attack each other. When you walked in the first 15 times with his face on, that's an attack. You don't say anything. What place does that touch in Uncle Harry? It touches the worst place in him. He wants to fight back. When you go in the 17th time or whatever, with trust and openness and vulnerability, it gives him a chance to be. We all know that. That's what we're teaching. Now, what's helping us, and we've seen this, we've talked about this, and it's hard to notice, is Neptune and Chiron have been spending a good amount of time in Pisces. We have seen wonderful things happen with, you see it with your friends writing books and people going online and people starting new things, and Patricia with her group up there in Maine starting their gardens, and Karen doing her work in Florida. We're trying, we're making our moves, but we cannot continue this defense of the individual, and we can't keep playing whack a country. A country's got to be able to come up without us whacking them back down and then lying to the public. Now, let me see what else I have in my notes, but that's really, a couple of more things. Now, astrology is really, really important that people understand, because the true use of astrology, the best use, is simply when you're living in touch with yourself. You meet these people who are charmed, leading these lives that make you sick because it's all going so smoothly. These are people in touch with themselves. I once was doing a radio show in 1983, and my engineer was turning the knobs, and I got the birth information from this nice lady, a Libra. And I had 1 minute to do the chart mathematically and come back 1 minute later, start talking. And during that minute, she's muted, and I'm talking to my engineer, and this woman was being hit by everything. Everything was hitting her. And most people would be folding up the tent. And I said to my engineer, oh boy, listen to this one. And she got on the air, and I got to be cool. I said, well, Grace, how's it going? And Grace said to me, it's just going fine, Rick, thank you. And here was this woman who was not being phony. She was not numb. She was in balance. She had stayed in balance all along. And she was in balance today. This is a woman who was living consciously in sync with herself. Most people would have had their dinghy knocked over. They would have drowned. They would have submerged somewhat. Most of the time when planets hit us, we at least have some grief. But this is why you tell people, and I got to be so careful when I'm writing articles about the planets, because people go, oh, no, the planet's going to hit me. Which is a normal response when you're a young astrologer. But in reality, the planets are just parts of you coming out. What came over you? What got into Susan? What's getting into Nancy lately? Well, I don't know what's come over Patricia. Now, if you had your chart done and you understood the speed of these planets, and that's what's confusing, because they all move at different rates, they hit at different times, and that's what keeps this lady kind of a mystery. But when Mars comes over, you should be energetic. When Uranus comes over you, you should be a little more individualistic. And when Neptune comes over you, you should be a little more passive. You feel these things come up. Now, what happens to us is we don't let these, Nancy's the expert here, being a nice psychologist, but we don't, for whatever reason, we don't let these energies up and through. Whether our parents weren't good at it, mostly it's because of our past life. Whether we've got a conflict in our chart and we label one thing as that, we get confused. Today I had a very nice reading with Mark, who's marked down as Pluto here. He doesn't have a mic. And Mark had an excellent reading today because he's been through tremendous transits, and he only had one little doubt about one thing that was happening, which was really pretty certain. And he's in really good shape. And what I did is I examined him. For instance, we're in San Francisco, and my client says to me, oh, dear astrologer, I want to take a boat and sail to Hawaii tomorrow. And I'm looking at the planets, which is the weather report, and the winds are blowing directly to Alaska. Well, dear client, you ain't going to Hawaii tomorrow. Unless some heck of a zigzag, I don't know how you're going to do it, forget it. But the next day, the wind is going directly to Hawaii. See, people have such a misunderstanding. That doesn't mean you're going to Hawaii. That just means the wind is right. Now, when I interviewed Mark, his past 15 trips, when the wind blew where he wanted, and he went right there, I got every reason to think he's going to Hawaii. Because he's sailing the boat right. Now, I interviewed somebody else, and the last 6 trips out, they've capsized the boat. I don't think you're going to make it to Hawaii either. So there's no magic to astrology. There's a lot of study. There's a lot to learn. I really encourage you to learn more, to read more, to know more about your chart. I heavily, heavily warn you, reading books, reading authors, take a great big Morton salt shaker with you. Because a whole lot of astrologers talk like they know what they're saying. And the more I do 10,000 charts or whatever, the more I realize I don't know much at all. It's very difficult. But with minimal effort, as John can tell you, and John has put in quite a bit of effort. John's my assistant. You can learn a lot about your chart. Piece at a time, piece at a time. Read this, read that. But be very careful what people are telling you. Oh, this planet in this house means your wife's going to die when you're 42, and all these hard-coded curses. Don't believe this stuff. Be very cautious. You'll know when you get the right kind of teacher. So I want to end this part and open it up to discussion here in just a minute. And when you want to talk, please unmute yourself so you'll be able to be heard. But I would like to keep the discussion on what you think about noticing the destruction and the deconstruction at the same time, noticing the spirits on high are helping us. The spirits on high are, as I was telling Mark today, hi Colleen, the spirits are encouraging us to go to a higher level, higher level, higher level. Mark can no longer teach this person or solve this company's problem. Mark has to start working at a very high corporate level and start teaching the people that run these corporations. Pat's been an astrologer forever, an artist. She needs to be teaching the teachers. Nancy's a brilliant psychologist. She needs to be teaching these yes, dear Virgo, I'm giving you a compliment. You're going to have to take it. But Spirit is with us. And I'm not a kook. And I didn't go crazy in 2012. They are with us and they are encouraging us. They are encouraging us. They will work with us as long as we keep our intention true. And you're hearing that word now. What did you hear for 20 years? What word did you hear for 20 years? Energy. It's all you heard. You got good energy, bad energy. Let's fix energy. You're not hearing that now. You're hearing intent, which is beyond energy. It's before energy. It's the basis of energy. It is the unmanifest intention. Get your intention right. It'll work out. We're all seeing this. So, I admire you. I want to give you what I can weekly about astrology because I do think it will help you put a basis under your platform. Some weeks I'll be getting charts out and showing you right angles and all that. Tonight I wanted to talk about the generic situation in which we find ourselves, what we're seeing good, what we think we should do. Now I want to open it up to your thoughts. Go ahead, Grace.
Yeah, Rick, I'm worried about this Indian tribe, and the companies are putting these pipes under their water, close to it. Any thoughts about that?
Well, remember, it's not just the Indian tribe that we continue to, whatever verb you want, for how long. The black people can sure identify with them. We're telling them that we're going to sell their land and it's not even there. It's not even ours.
Yeah.
This is more, how long are we going to let Pluto get away with it? How long are we going to let big money get away with raping the people, raping the land? And this is the uprising that you're seeing with Uranus and Aries. You're seeing the people are uprising. Then you're seeing what else from big money? They control CNN. They won't mediate this. They won't show you. Pretty soon they're going to try to stop us on Facebook. Then we got a real problem. And I read today that they've now okayed drones to attack U.S. citizens in criminal ways in one state out west. I forget which one. It's now illegal in one state for drones to go after you. So that's why I just changed my image on Facebook to sheep, because it's what we are until we do something different. And I'm concerned also, Grace, and what do you suggest, being a meditation or a yoga teacher for so many years? What do you suggest?
Well, to me, when I think about the American Indian, I think of people that are very close to spirit. And I wonder why these things happen to them.
They happen because of 1965. We've turned away from spirit.
Okay, even
1965 in October was our doorway open. We let the sun shine in. Let the sun. That's why that song was so huge. Even the astrology in the song was all wrong. When the moon is in the seventh house. But it was symbolic of us opening to spirit. But, you know, we've come a long way. We've done a lot of things right. We're coming from a very sleepy 1950s. We're coming a long way. But we've seen what the EpiPen, we've spoken out and had some power. We need to speak up to tell Congress to get their butts back to work, to get us another Supreme Court person, and to do something about North Dakota. They don't want it.
No.
We have to speak up, and we got to quit being the cancers with their head in the sand, or these false pseudo saints who keep our mouths shut while we suffer. Other comments? John? If you're ready, if not, that's fine. Anybody can speak up. Whatever you think.
I don't really
Patricia, yes.
I don't really have anything to add at this point.
That's okay. Thank you. Patricia does.
I've got a lot is happening. Is what do we do now? Defunct, or is it still going?
I've ended it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Three people showed up. I'm not putting my time into it. I got other things to do.
I tapped into a group that is doing a wellness forum for diabetes and diet and exercise.
Wonderful.
And I just dropped into it.
You may want to share that stuff with Karen, who's really right down your alley. Wonderful.
They gave me
everybody. Let's talk a minute now. Do you see what I'm saying to you? That the decay is happening at the same time that the healthy deconstruction is happening. Healthy deconstruction. And that's spirit's coming up. Do you see it? I'm not making this up.
That's just one thing, Rick. That was last night. That'll be next Tuesday.
Yeah.
But then I connected them with the Incredible Edible Garden Group, and then with the college, and then with the Beehive Design Collective. And then some guy came my way. He was looking for an artist, and he went to one woman, and she said, well, try Sandra. And he went to Sandra, and she said, try Pat. And he came here today, and we've been talking, and he's saying just exactly what you have spent the last hour saying.
Wonderful. And I want to unleash that hand that is across Nancy's mouth, because Nancy is so brilliant. This woman is so smart, and she's very perceptive. And I'm going to put a lot of pressure on you, Nancy. I want to hear what you're seeing, because you see things in daily people, couples, as a psychologist, and you're very perceptive. And I really do want to hear your perceptions of what you're seeing with people, besides everybody getting afraid. What are you seeing?
I do definitely see what you're talking about. First of all, I see that it seems to me that a lot of people are having awakenings.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there's another interesting question I'll put back to you, which is, you know, Jung said, in terms of psychologists or astrologers or any of us who work with the public, that we get the clients we need.
Yeah.
So
No doubt.
practitioner is attracting
Yeah.
a different type of caseload. And I have to
No
tell you
doubt.
that I have seen this without a doubt. When I look at my various colleagues, each one of them will have a certain group of people that is uniquely their group that they work with.
What does that tell? What does that tell you?
Well,
What's it tell you?
you know, it's like the law of attraction or whatever. You know, I picked up a book because I have a very poor science and math background, relatively speaking. And I was in an airport and I picked up this book called Physics for Rock Stars. And this young physicist talks about these. I believe that the patterns in nature are the patterns in nature. And the same things that apply in the physical world apply in the psychological world. Well, she was talking about how I think this is the best metaphor or maybe actual explanation of how we attract what we attract that I've heard so far. She said in the periodic table of elements, and anybody please correct me because I barely got through high school chemistry, so I don't really know my stuff. But there's a little number in the upper right-hand corner of each element, and it has to do with, it reflects the number of electrons in the outer orbit, the outermost orbit of that atom.
Yeah, the atomic number, I think it is.
Right?
Yeah.
What is it?
The atomic number?
Yeah, I think I think what she said that means is that there's supposed to be 2 electrons in the middle and then 8 in each subsequent orbit.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I don't know what I'm talking about. But what she said is like if my element has 3 electrons in the outermost element, I'm going to be attracted to people who have 5 electrons in the outermost element because we will complete each other. So and I think that reflects that there are certain types of energy that we attract and are attracted to, energies that vibrate and resonate with our own. In the case of that, you could say that I'm looking for someone who might complete me. But then maybe we have to learn how to complete ourselves from that. I don't know. I guess I'm...
No, I think that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. No doubt about it.
But I do think that, like, when you ask me what's it like out there in the world of psychology, I think I can't speak beyond my own practice. And I know that my practice will be different from other people's. But I'm seeing a lot of breakthroughs. I'm seeing people who are open to ways of thinking about things that would have been considered, you know, cuckoo not that long ago.
What I've seen since Chiron, which is about life's purpose, hero's journey, since Chiron went into Pisces the last 3 years, people are flocking to me. I'm not talking about numbers, but what I'm saying percentage. These people want to know their mission. They want to know. I don't care. I just want to know what it is. I got to find out. I can't stand it anymore. Before, 10 years ago, well, I'd kind of like to know, but I got these kids to raise, and, you know, I'm not sure. Not now. People are bitten. They want to know what their purpose is, and I think that's coming from the collective of Chiron in Pisces.
And I think, like, for myself even, as a practitioner, it has all of a sudden become much more clear to me, not just a philosophical concept, but I'm really like, oh my God, the outer world actually is a mirror reflection of what's going on inside.
There is no outer world. There is no outer world. The quantum world is real, and that's why so many people being led by Greg Braden, etc., are absolutely correct that all you got to do to fix this problem with the lobbyists and etc., is get your own world in order.
I think that's right. And when you were saying earlier, that uncle example, you know, how we are subliminally reading each other's energy all the time. And we're responding and reflecting back to each other. And I've noticed, because you know I do a lot of energy work, and I do energy psychology, that when someone's energy shifts, the outer world, what's going on around them, magically changes without very much confrontation or anything.
Instantly. Yeah. Anybody else with thoughts? Thank you, Nancy. Anybody else with thoughts? Karen, unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Real quick, what I have noticed in agreement with Nancy is that even as brief a time as 3 years ago, when you talked about energy work with people, they were kind of, voodoo and that kind of stuff. And now, and I kind of had to be really careful how I mentioned it, but now it's like people are so open and seeking, and it's incredible the shift that I have seen, because remember, I'm in the sticks and I'm in the redneck sticks to boot, so you don't get a lot of people in that arena that are looking, and yet that's not what I'm experiencing.
Karen, I think redneck sticks are everywhere. They're not just in the city. They're in New York, they're in Rhode Island, they're in Virginia, they're in Pennsylvania, they're in Maine, they're in Ohio, they're in Nevada, they're everywhere.
It's a mindset. It truly is. But you get what I'm saying. Sometimes you can get
I think this is very important here. In order to get to this mentality of I can solve it here, you have to deconstruct the hold that the church has on you. And when I hear people talk about church, I think it's wonderful that they have fellowship and they work together and it makes them feel communal and they're doing this and doing that with the church and they're trying to fly straight. That's great. But are they really working with the concept of get my mind straight and the whole world changes? That's what's being deconstructed. And that's very threatening to the powers that be. It's very threatening. I see a kitty cat walking by.
Well, my yard guide that I've been working with.
Your yard guide?
Yeah, I have a yard man that's, his IQ is probably about 80, 85. Yeah. And he's he came over today and he's really been doing a lot of deep thinking, and he is definitely deconstructing.
Oh, the yard man.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said your yard died.
No.
I couldn't follow you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm seeing that with him, that he's really cleaning out his basement. And he's really cleaning it out. And he will come and have long conversations because, and I've told him, I said, it's like you've held on to this ball and chain and it's time to get rid of it. And he's like, how do I do that? So
that's how you move to stage 2.
We've had some, but I'm seeing this in lots of people that I'm coming in contact with.
But it had to come by being in such a mess that you just couldn't go anymore. And you just, Ram Dass calls it going down the highway, rubbing your head against the curb, and it's bleeding so bad and it's so painful that you say, well, I'll get in the middle of the road and follow the yellow line for a while and quit doing that. But that's what he says. He says that anguish is the prerequisite to success. What do you think, Miss Ferguson? You get quiet out there in California, eh? What's on your mind today? I'm going to unmute you. You got any thoughts today?
There's just so much going on in my head.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you're also a Virgo, and you want to fix things, right? And that's a very tough one, because you are made to fix things, but you have to also see that it's fine the way it is. And that's why you want to read the chapter in here about Virgo Pisces, which I really think I wrote a chapter about the 6 oppositions, the 6 axes in the zodiac. And Virgo Pisces is the critical one, because Virgo is about the differences, and we're separate. And Pisces is about what's alike, and we're one. And one is about earth, and one is about heaven, if you will. So I think we're all really saying the same thing. And I think tonight it's been very important to point out that while these things are going on, that we're seeing our answer is inwardly. Nancy, you're absolutely right. In my last 5 years, I've drawn almost everybody to me has been a healer, a frustrated healer, a healer who needed encouragement, a healer needed put back on the tracks. Most of the people that come to me don't even need that much work anymore, because they got it inside. So I don't really know what we're doing here on Astrology Unplugged. I'm trying to bring astrology to you and show you how it connects with human life. And we're going to talk about different things each week. If you have ideas, please feel free to email me. If you have some thoughts that you would like to see somebody's chart, I was thinking it would be good to see Bill Cosby's chart. I think it'd be interesting. I think looking at Oprah Winfrey's chart would be interesting. I think looking at Bernie's chart would be interesting. The chart of the United States and Russia. All those charts, countries have very symbolic charts. I think they would be good too. I would be remiss tonight if I didn't ask our other Virgo, Susan Rose. I hope you're listening in, because I know you have a zillion things to say. Are you able to chip in? Because I know you're stirring the waters in many ways. Susan, are you there? So there's some difficulty. Susan is former nurse, and she's stirring up so much spiritual growth in the center of Pittsburgh. She's really pretty remarkable. Well, anyhow, we're running out of time. Your mic isn't working. Okay. Thank you, Susan, for trying. Maybe check out next week, check out your bottom left button where it says mute on the bottom left. There's a little up arrow, and on that up arrow, if you click that, you can do audio tests, and you've got a slide bar that you can move back and forth. Try from your laptop next time. But anyhow, on your mute button, there's a little up arrow, and if you click there, you can affect that slide bar for your speakers and your microphone volume. I think we'll, okay. Well, see you, and we also have Mercury retrograde, which has been a lot of fun. I think we'll bring it to closure. I am decided that I'm going to put this out on YouTube tomorrow. I'll give it a general title about what we talked about. I think it's been very good. I don't know exactly what we're accomplishing, but I think we are stirring the waters. We are rubbing elbows with people with like attitudes, like mindsets. And I want to encourage you that even though some of us are pretty advanced in astrology, that the answer is not astrology. The answer is, as we failed in 1965, we're starting to learn now. The answer is listening to the quiet voice, the quiet guidance from within, finding peace within, not fighting, not struggling. I wish you all the very best in terms of not getting caught in the media frenzy of everybody trying to get everybody to freak out. Susan said that she wanted to mention that Obama mentioned to buy 4 gallons of water and to be prepared for this month. Oh, that works in real well with what I'm talking about, media panic. Okay? We have zillions of things to talk about. The big thing, don't get caught in people's fear. Remember each other. We have strength. Keep coming to the group with ideas. Email me with thoughts, what you'd like to see. Feel free to message me on Facebook or at rick@starself.com. Thank you all for tonight. I thought it was very good. And we'll just continue every Thursday at 8 o'clock.
Thank you, Rick. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Rick. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, y'all. Bye, John.
Bye.